Доброго дня. До слова запрошується речник адміністрації президента.
The floor is given to Presidential Administration spokesman on ATO-related issues, Colonel Oleksandr Motuzyanyk. Good afternoon, everyone. And now the information about the events in the ATO area during the last 24 hours. In the Lugansk area, the intensity of fire delivered by the enemy decreased. Yesterday, enemy opened fire 5 times, and all these instances were short-term. The only instance of the use of heavy weapons, these are mortars of 82 mm of caliber, happened in Stanitsa Luganska, where the militants launched 3 mines at our positions. At the same time, Chief Intelligence Department of MOD reports that the enemy continues reconnaissance activities in this area, especially in the region of Pervomaisk. They recorded the work of a Svetke-U radio system complex. The same situation in the Donetsk area. The number of shelling delivered by the enemy decreased comparing with 2 last days, but the enemy still uses heavy weapons. And according to the estimates of the General Staff, the enemy launched about 150 mortar mines at the positions of the ATO forces. Also, twice enemy opened fire with artillery units near Svetlodarska and Zaitseva. And these regions were the epicenters of military actions in the Donetsk area. In Zaitseva and in the northern suburbs of Gorlovka, the enemy continued to shell ATO forces both during the day and at night. And on the whole, and to the north of Gorlovka, the enemy opened fire 11 times using mortars and the weaponry of APCs, and also they used grenade launchers and machine guns. At Svetlodarska Bulge, the enemy opened fire with the use of cannons of 122 mm of caliber, and afternoon they continued to make provocations, and they delivered grenade launcher fire, the use of APC and small arms. Also, the enemy continued shelling our positions with mortar after sunset. The culmination of these actions were 2 mortar shellings after sunset, in the course of which the enemy launched 60 mines of 120 and 82 mm of caliber. In Avdiivka, the militants were less active than usually. 4 cases of ceasefire violations were recorded. All of them were carried out during the day. The enemy used grenade launchers of different systems and also machine guns. Sporadic violations of ceasefire with the use of mortars were in Novgorodska, Pisky, and also the positions of Shakhta Putilivska. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in the Donetsk area, there were 27 enemy shellings, 23 with the use of heavy weapons. In Mariupol area, on the whole, the activity of the enemy decreased. Heavy weapons were used sporadically and only during dark hours. There were 1 case of use of mortars in Marienka, Valdiane, and Shirokina. And in Berezova, that is to the west of occupied Dokuchaevsk, at our positions, the enemy launched 8 artillery shells. In Novotroitsk, Stagnatovka, and Gnutova, there were some firing between ATO forces and the enemy, and in Gnutova, enemy sniper was active. On the whole, during the last 24 hours in Mariupol area, there were 17 enemy shellings, including 4 with the use of heavy weapons. According to the information, the enemy used reconnaissance air drones, 1 of them in the region of Avdiivka, and 1 went along the route Yasenovata, Avdiivka, Gorlivka. On the whole, 1 Ukrainian serviceman was killed and 4 were wounded during the last 24 hours, and we express condolences to the relatives of the serviceman who was killed. Chief Intelligence Department of MOD provided confirmation about the losses of the enemy in the period of 18th till 19th of August. On the whole, 24 militants died and 37 were wounded. These are the militants of 6 militant groups that are the members of so-called DPR and LPR. The losses were sustained also by paratroopers of the armed forces of Russian Federation. 331st Paratrooper Regiment that is deployed in Kostroma, and that is included in the 98th Paratrooper Division that is permanently placed in Ivanovo city of Ivanovsk Oblast of Russia. And also in Donetsk, the militants sustained some losses, and that's why Russian forces brought some of their troops back to Russia to prevent desertion. Also, there were some rotations in the battalion that was mentioned before, and this regiment was used for subversive activity and assault actions in the Donetsk area. Also, our intelligence service reports that Russia stopped to bring a corpse of Russian servicemen to the morgue of Donetsk Clinical Hospital named after Kalinin for examination and storage. Now they are loaded to specially equipped refrigerators, and then they are brought to Rostov-on-Don. This is done to hide information about losses that influence on discipline among the militants. And also the bodies of those Russians who volunteered to serve under special contracts, they are burnt in special burning facilities without any medical examination or without any certificates of death. So the Russian Federation does everything in order to hide information about their citizens, about those who were brought to the territory of Ukraine. So 7th Brigade in Debaltseva, they also, the militants, when they are brought to hospital, they are recorded as people who have household injuries in order to hide and prevent payment of compensation. Also recorded are the facts of supply of equipment and fuel and lubricants from the territory of Russia. 11 fuel tanks were brought to Rovinki and also to Svetlovodsk, 3 railway cars with ammunition and military equipment. To Ilovaisk, they brought 4 fuel tanks, 2 railway cars with ammunition and some self-propelled systems and also grad system. Also, in order to they brought 160 mercenaries from Russia to reinforce 11th Detached Motorized Regiment. SBU continued to detain the militants, and they detained a militant of Vostok group. This resident of Avdiivka joined the militants in May 2014, and then he served and took part in the battles near the Donetsk airport. He served among the militants, and then he was informed that he should make some acts of terror, and he fled the militants, and then he went to Avdiivka, and he provided information to the militants about Ukrainian forces, and that's why SBU detained him. So also near Shirokina they found the cache of ammunition. There was a fugass shell and also anti-personnel mine and the anti-personnel mine OSM 72. In Kharkivshina, National Guardsmen had some training. They participated in competition. They were running in full uniform and in bulletproof vests and wearing their helmets. They covered the distance of 4 kilometers, and also they overcome some lines of obstacles. They brought some carts of ammunition. They threw the F1 grenade, and also they had some firing exercises. And also the Minister of Defense of Ukraine visited some military units, and the servicemen were greeted, and after the ceremony of awarding the servicemen, they were able to discuss some problematic issues. And also, police officers in Donetsk help people who live in the conflict area. So families got some gifts. These were some stationery, and this is a good help before the start of the year of learning for children. So, do you have questions? Please ask. No questions. Thank you.